Recently, a bride from Anhui became famous for a scenario that seemed to be straight out of a TV drama, but it happened in real life. The incident occurred in Huibai, Anhui. On the day of the wedding, the bride's family suddenly demanded an additional 130,000 yuan in the dowry. The groom, upon hearing this news on his way to pick up the bride, became so angry that he took a taxi and left, leaving behind the wedding procession in the luxurious wedding car. According to sources close to the situation, before the wedding, the groom had already bought a 300,000 yuan car and a house in downtown Huibai. However, on the wedding day, the bride's family insisted on an additional 130,000 yuan for the dowry. Furious, the groom took a taxi and left, asking for a dowry. In some regions of China, is seen as a way to show affection and to ensure the daughter's future. But the practice of adding to the dowry at the last minute not only damages the family's reputation and honor, but also turns the marriage into a commercial transaction. Some netizens commented, "It doesn't matter if the marriage is a transaction or not. Even if it were, suddenly increasing the dowry amount is a despicable act." They mentioned that changing a previously agreed-upon arrangement and raising the price arbitrarily may be an attempt to gain an advantage over the groom, but such arrogant and insensitive behavior would certainly make him walk away. What do you think about this?
Raising a daughter for 20 years requires how much effort and expenditure on dowries, right? Is asking for 200,000 yuan as a dowry too much? Just during a girl's 6 years of elementary school, it costs about 100,000 yuan. From middle school to college, that's at least another 100,000 yuan. And, of course, we're not even counting the costs from birth, like diapers, formula, and other expenses. When she finally grows up, becomes independent, and starts earning her own money, you simply take her away with everything she has. But when it comes time to give something in return, you start to criticize and complain. Hearing this, what do you think? Maybe some of you want to criticize me. But please, don't rush, this is not something I made up. Even though everyone raises their children with love, saying something like this really makes one think. There's a rural saying, raising children isn't just about spending on food. And here, we're only talking about education costs, not even including diapers and formula. Following this logic, what's the point of having children? Is it just to raise them and then hand over the bill to the in-laws? Did the groom grow up without any expenses? Don't they have costs to account for as well? The truth is, nowadays, raising a child, whether a boy or a girl, takes a lot of money and effort. Now, when it comes to raising a son, the story is different. You need to ensure he has a home. And buying a house costs hundreds of thousands, even millions. Parents are already exhausted. So where will an ordinary rural family find tens of thousands to pay the dowry? In my opinion, as parents of a daughter, it's important to maintain a proper perspective. Marriage is a significant matter for the children, and parents should only act as advisors, not the ones raising the stakes. What really matters is that the couple genuinely loves each other, that the man has good character, is not lazy or irresponsible, and respects his partner. If a man has nothing, but a woman is still willing to fight alongside him, that woman has a high chance of never being abandoned by him. Moreover, that man will likely be very respectful to her parents. So, what do you think about the logic of asking for 200,000 yuan as a dowry? If you were the bride's parent, how would you handle this? Of course, this is just my personal opinion, with no intention of causing negative influence.
我实在是无法理解啊，为什么一说到彩礼，很多男人
I really can't understand. Why is it that when it comes to bride prices, so many men just refuse to pay? Think about it, her parents have raised her for decades. Giving a bride price of tens of thousands to honor her parents isn't asking for much, right? Now we're almost in 2025. And honestly, 10 or 20,000 isn't some astronomical figure, don't you agree? Any family that's planning to marry off a son should be able to afford that amount, right? This money doesn't buy a house. Nor does it buy a car. I just don't get it. Why are some families on the man's side so stingy? They want to marry, but they don't want to pay the bride price. Do they think all the benefits in the world should just fall into their lap? Moreover, since ancient times, there's been a tradition of paying bride prices when getting married, right? It's not like the woman's family is making this up just to make life harder for you. I have a story to share about this. A friend of mine was arranging her daughter's marriage, and yes, they asked for a bride price. I made a video about it, and many men came to the comments complaining about how unfair it was. Some even said that if their son met a girlfriend who asked for a bride price, they would immediately break things off. Oh my God. How can people have such thoughts? If you don't want to pay the bride price, then just accept staying single forever. Nowadays, women aren't even that demanding, right? Even divorced women are highly sought after. If you can't even manage to pay 10,000, it just shows that you're either incredibly stingy, or your family is financially struggling. But no matter the reason, marrying into such a situation would mean guaranteed suffering, right? What do you all think about my point of view? Feel free to comment, let's exchange ideas and learn together.
实话实说，如果说我们大龄未婚女性
I really want to ask older single men a question. Be honest. If we, older single women, lowered our standards, how much dowry would you be willing to pay to marry us? Would you refuse to pay the dowry just because you think we are older? I see many stories online about families breaking off negotiations over dowry issues. After all, the bride's family only wants to secure a bit more protection for their daughter, while the groom's family thinks in the future we'll all be one family. So why can't you make a little concession? I really don't get it. Since when did dowry become a kind of business transaction where prices are negotiable? If the dowry amount exceeds your expectations, you start thinking that the bride's family is selling their daughter, and the groom's family is buying a wife. I don't know if some men truly don't understand or are just pretending not to understand. The dowry provided by the groom and the bride's dowry in return are actually meant to serve as startup funds for the couple. It's something to ensure that, in case of difficulties, they have some money saved. But why do you only see it as if you're buying a wife?
00后男生主张不给彩礼。
Guys born in the 2000s are advocating for the abolition of dowry payments. And this has sparked a storm of criticism from 130,000 little fairies in the comments. But what exactly did this guy say to cause such an uproar? Let's take a look. I'm a guy, born in the 2000s, a freshman in college. I clearly declare, any discussion about marriage involving dowries is off the table. Without a doubt, the tone and stance of this young man are impressive. He continues, my principle is that marriage is a matter between two people, not two families. Dowry demands are undoubtedly a requirement from the bride's family. Have you ever seen a bride ask for 200,000 yuan as pocket money to get married? Well, I believe that's rare. Most girls are good. Only a few are exceptions. Let's keep reading. Girls are human beings. And the Constitution stipulates equal pay for equal work between men and women. The marriage law does not mention anything about dowries. And where the law is silent, there is freedom. Since spouses are equal under the law and financially, I have no reason to be partial. Moreover, I cannot guarantee that the dowry will be 100% used for my wife or to serve her. Obviously, I won't do something that's harmful to me. The young man's viewpoint makes sense. First, giving a dowry isn't advantageous for him. Even if he agrees, marriage is long. And who can guarantee there won't be problems in the future? His concerns are entirely reasonable. And his honesty about it is truly commendable. He continues, since marriage is something between two people and not two families, the bride's family members should be her responsibility. To me, they are just guests. And I can offer support within my capabilities. But I don't expect to compromise everything I have. At funerals of the bride's family, I can write a note of condolences. But I reserve the right not to attend. I'll also ask my future wife to have the same consideration for me. Dating is about emotions. Marriage requires rationality. Everything should be black and white, crystal clear. And all post-marriage relationships should be viewed with an objective mindset, leaving no room for ambiguity. Honestly, what he said isn't wrong. Marriage isn't just about romance. It involves everyday responsibilities. If the two truly love each other and want to build a life together, is the dowry still that important? He believes that dating is something between two individuals, and that families shouldn't be involved. This is similar to the idea of a marriage where family responsibilities are separated. I'm not obligated to take care of your family, and your family shouldn't interfere with our marriage, which is solely about us living together. Indeed, with gender equality being emphasized so much these days, the concept of dowries should also be fairer. Either the groom offers a dowry, and the bride reciprocates with an equivalent trousseau, or both simply forego these traditions altogether. Still, he became the target of an onslaught from 130,000 little fairies, receiving harsh criticism and sarcastic comments. And what exactly did they say? Like, follow, and save this video. In the next one, I'll bring you all the detailed responses.
Many women don't understand the whole dowry thing. Why are men so sensitive, even opposed to it? Isn't it just a matter of a few tens of thousands of yuan? Let's try to understand what they are really dealing with. Imagine, if the dowry is too high, what can he do? He'll probably say, "Hey, isn't that a bit too much?" And what will he hear? "How is it too much? Everyone here does it this way, it's the rule in my hometown. I didn't ask for more than that. I'll tell you, my friend, so-and-so, her dowry was 380,000. Not counting the jewelry and red envelopes. Her wedding photos were taken by Lake Baikal. The ceremony was inspired by Hawaiian style. I didn't even mention that. You're already getting the first scolding. And if he says, let's talk, I really don't have that much money. Then he'll hear, are you poor? Can't you afford this money? Are you looking down on me? Looking down on my family? Is it that I'm not worth this amount? Or is it that our relationship over the years isn't worth this? If you can't pay the dowry, how will you get married? How will you live afterward? Well, that's the second scolding he'll get. I believe everyone has heard something like this. On the internet, for example. I'm not saying every woman says this. But this is how men feel and the pressure they face. Of course. Someone might say, you, blogger, are taking things out of context. But what if the dowry is low? Who said the dowry has to be requested? When someone asks for a dowry, is it more important to ask for more or for less? Can anyone ask for a low dowry? So far, I've never heard of anyone asking for a low dowry. But if any woman watching the video actually asked for a low amount, let me say, I have the utmost respect for you. On one hand, you have a clear vision of the future. On the other, you're making a significant contribution to the marriage and fertility rates. But back to the dowry. What happens when the amount is balanced, neither too high nor too low? Then comes the next point. Is there a dowry? If so, how much? Who gets it, the woman's family or directly the man? And the dowry, is it for the woman's family, for her, or for the couple to manage together? Do you notice that no one clears this up for you? Nothing is discussed openly and clearly. If you ask, you'll hear, do you really dare to ask about this? If you don't ask, you'll end up being taken advantage of unknowingly. In short, if you ask for a low amount, you'll waste years of effort. If you ask for a high amount, you might end up depleting your parents' savings. Once the dowry issue starts, it only brings endless problems. Many traps and tricks. And you always seem to be at a disadvantage. So, woman, do you think men won't feel sensitive or even negative about this issue?
Many women say they don't understand why some men today just don't want to pay the bride price. Let me give you a real-life example. After seeing this, you'll understand. I have a brother who just started working and is about 25 years old. If he manages to earn 10,000 yuan a month, he refuses to spend on food, clothes, or any kind of high consumption. And he doesn't date or go out to have fun, wearing the same clothes for 3 to 4 years without buying new ones. Maybe he could save up a decent amount. But even so, this savings is far from enough to cover the costs of marriage, such as a car, a house, the bride price, and all the other wedding expenses. He would spend his whole youth earning money. Many women say society is unfair.
But tell me, is this fair for men? When women ask for the bride price for security in life. My brother works hard to earn money to buy a car, a house, and cover all the necessary expenses for the wedding. And after marriage, most of the daily expenses are still his responsibility. In an average family after getting married, my brother has already drained practically all of the family's resources. And this so-called security. Where does his security come from? We are all independent individuals. We have hands and feet, and the ability to earn money. True security comes from ourselves. Isn't that right?
The main reason why many people avoid marriage today is related to the behavior of certain generations, particularly those born in the 70s and 80s. It's not just about the economy, but how social and relationship dynamics have changed over time. Even though it's argued that men shouldn't be obligated to spend money on women, this idea is not widely accepted. The issue doesn't just come from women, but also from men themselves. I experienced this when I posted something on Weibo and received such intense criticism from both men and women that I had to delete the post to avoid problems, even with my account. It's always said that men should spend whatever is necessary. When it comes to paying the bill at dinner, for example, the response is always, "What's the problem? Just pay. Be generous." There's also the question, do you still consider yourself a man if you argue about this with a woman? And there's no need to mention birthday presents or the traditional 520 red envelopes, because men start comparing themselves to each other even without the woman saying anything. I couldn't let my girlfriend lose face on such an important day, even if she didn't give anything in return. Back then, women had a sense of shame and didn't think something should be given for free. Even in cases involving houses, cars, and dowries, men, even reluctantly, would commit themselves, if financially capable, to get married and have children, as marriage was always seen as a big event in a woman's life. If the man had the means, he would take the responsibility. Why did this happen? Because the economy was growing. The economic pressure wasn't about not having money, but about how to earn more. So, even with pressures, there was always hope for improvement. However, when the economic situation worsens, everything changes. It's not just the money for dinners or presents that starts being calculated, but the man also begins to worry about everything because he really doesn't have money and is constantly threatened by the possibility of losing his job or even going bankrupt. For men, the greatest dilemma isn't about preserving dignity or giving women what they want. The real challenge becomes simply how to survive. That's why many men now look at the house they bought and feel like they are dealing with something taken from them. Why, even when they can afford it, do men refuse to pay the dowry? Because, in many men's minds, the meaning of marriage has changed. In the past, when a woman wanted a house, a car, and the dowry, the man felt motivated to offer all of that because he wanted to build a life with her. He also believed that by taking care of the woman, he was taking care of his family. When the economy was good, marriage was a grand event full of status, a way to show that they were building a solid foundation for the future. But when the economy is bad, marriage becomes about finding someone to share the life with, someone to help through the struggles. Men no longer think of marriage just as offering a house and a car. They lost those things, and if they lost that, how could they still pay the dowry? What do you think about this dilemma? I would love to know your opinion in the comments. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.